What is up, everybody? This is Anthony with the VR Roundtable podcast. Welcome to episode 97 of the show. And you know what, folks? Today, we've got a lot of games to talk about. It has been Christmas in September, so we got a lot of games to get into, but we do have quite a few news stories as well. So we will, of course, start it off with the news. But real quick, before we get going, let's go ahead and check in with the crew. We do have Chris sporting an awesome Rick and Morty t-shirt. What's up, Chris? How's it going?
It's going good. How are you guys all doing?
We're doing well.
Pretty good.
It's good.
And we have Gary in his typical spot. He's a little bit nervous today because he is running the boards. He's handling all of the Skype call drama, blah, 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 all that stuff, live streaming, yada, yada, yada. But it's all good, right, Gary? Everything's going well.
Oh, I hope so. I hope everyone can confirm that in the chat because I think being a little bit nervous is understating it. I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. But yeah, hopefully everything's going okay.
And Steve is coming to us live from a hotel in an undisclosed location. And as you can see, he hasn't made his bed yet. Shame on you, Steve. Shame on
It
you.
is. It is made, and I didn't make
it's
it.
just the pillows messed up over
Hotel.
there.
Yeah, I was stretched out there earlier playing a little Oculus Go. So I am live in Ireland, out on business work, and I don't go home over the weekend when I come over here because it takes so long to get home and get reacclimated to the time zone. So I usually have a down weekend. Last time I was over here, I went to hang out with Gary. So that's why Gary's on producer duty. So everyone give a round of applause for producer Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get things rolling. Let's go ahead and start it off with some news stories. And one of the biggest news stories that we have is Knuckles EV3 is heading out to developers. And so I believe EV means like evaluation version, but I'm just like going out on a limb there. So I'm assuming this is like evaluation version number 3. And we've been waiting, Knuckles, for a fortnight. We've been waiting a while for this thing. And hopefully we're starting to get into the final stretch of Knuckles. A lot of people believe that now that this EV3 version is out there, we may be 4 to 5 months away, or maybe even better than that, towards the launch of Knuckles. And of course, that would also mean possibly some of these Half-Life, what am I saying? Some of these secret Valve games. Oh man, I just spoiled it. I just revealed it. Yep, Half-Life 3, it has been confirmed. But basically, yeah, so Knuckles evaluation version 3. Why don't I kick it over to Steve? Steve, you are a regular civilian today. You don't have to worry about a lot of those duties. So we'll be going to you a little bit more on the topics. What is your thoughts on Knuckles EV3?
Well, at a high level, the big news is that they're still moving forward. There's still work being done on it, and that Valve hasn't pulled the plug or anything crazy like that. On the bad news, like hearing news about the EV3, like this seems odd to me because when we saw the EV2, it looked like a pretty done product, and I'm not sure why they're releasing news to say, yeah, it's largely the same thing, just improve battery life a little bit, improvements to the triggers. I think I remember reading. So we as consumers, we weren't really aware of the battery life to begin with. We weren't aware that the trigger could be improved, because we haven't played with them. So why is it news? Like it seems odd to me to hear about this hardware cycle. You expect it from a Kickstarter company like a Pimax or something. You don't hear this kind of thing from Apple or Microsoft or Sony. So and I put Valve, even though they're maybe not as large as some of those companies, I sort of put Valve in that camp that when they're talking about hardware, they don't need to keep kind of cluing us in on the development cycle. Not that I don't mind knowing, that's fine. Like let's hear about it, but it just makes me realize that it's even further away than what I was hoping. Because when we were hearing word of EV2 a couple months back, I was thinking that there's a chance that they would come in 2018, that Knuckles would be released because it looked like a pretty final looking product. So this makes me think now we're talking early to mid 2019, and I don't know why. Let's get them out there.
Yeah, Chris, So in chat, JJ Mark says Knuckles looks gorgeous. I'm just concerned that being a separate peripheral, it won't have complete support. Devs will still be focused on supporting the wands. And my question, Chris, is do you think Knuckles will eventually find its way into some type of bundle? Are we just gonna are we gonna be ordering these things right off of Steam and it's gonna come in a box that says it was shipped by Valve? How's this gonna work? I mean, look into your crystal ball there.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing is because it is by Valve, it'll probably be shipped from Valve at least for people who already have Vives and things like that. But I mean, we gotta hope there's a Steam VR headset that'll ship with these things once they get released. We really gotta hope that. But I mean, so far there's really no information on that, which sucks a lot. But yeah, I think I think this is overall a good thing. I mean, better than Know It News, which we had for so long. We're just like, where did the Knuckles go? Like I really thought they were canceled, to be honest. But I think the biggest news is the EV3 is going to be sent out to a larger quantity of developers. So like everyone's going to have them. Everyone's going to be able to develop for them. Because I think that's the thing. As long as the developers can get these for free, they're going to support the games with them. Like, if my studio got these, they'd be like, wow, these are epic, and they're similar to Touch. So people would want to have that feature parity. I think the problem will come with them having to be developing things for the wands and this because most people probably don't care. Some people with Vives, I feel like, won't care about this, which they should, but I don't think if you haven't tried an Oculus Touch or something like that, you might not even see the benefit to something like this. So it might be a little bit of an uphill battle. I saw like the other day that Touch has like a 95 to 96% adoption rating, so like literally everybody has Touch, but just because of the wand situation, I feel like it's going to be more like 40-50% maximum after these come out. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Gary, one thing that we do know about Knuckles EV3 is it still has the thumbstick. Hooray for that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, thumbstick for me is one of the main things. So they've still got that little touchpad sensor thing. Presumably that's going to be used for scrolling up and down and that kind of stuff. And that makes perfect sense. And I'm glad they've done that. But to me, touchpads just seem like thumbsticks seem like the way to go with this. One thing I want to mention about the touchpads is because like the original Valve, the Vive controllers, they had touchpads, and then Oculus Touch went for the thumbsticks. And now we're hearing original reports from like Santa Cruz how they were sort of aiming for touchpads originally on that, and now they've moved over to thumbsticks. I think it's a mistake to force people to go over to touchpads if they're not ready to, and the problem is I can understand why they do it, because it seems like thumbsticks are really like a mainstream kind of thing. You don't need to really learn how to use a touchpad or anything like that. It's a touch screen really, and you can really immediately do that. And the mainstream will probably want to do that. Mainstream people, and I'm talking about non-gamers here. So I can see them pushing for that in one way, but at this stage in VR, most of the people that are playing this are really like tech enthusiasts. And they are coming from either a gaming background or a tech background, and they are used to thumbsticks. So I think that's the way they need to go for now. I'm not saying thumbsticks are ideal or anything like that, but I think it's a good way for them to plant themselves at the moment, and then maybe move over to different forms of motion controllers. I mean, I guess ideally gloves are the way that eventually it will have to go.
We should mention just the timing of this news. Of basically all the news this week is trying to just take away from Oculus Connect, which is next week. So yeah, I think it's good timing for that.
Yeah, Bullet Ape in chat says, I can't see how Knuckles can succeed with such a fragmented market, regardless of how good. And Paradise Decay responding back says, but when you get them in a bundle with Half-Life 3, that's something that could happen, actually. If you want to sell Knuckles to a huge group of people, could you imagine if they had a bundle $99.99, you get a pair of Knuckles and you get all three of these Valve games. Yeah, right. We're dreaming about that. But that would be a great way to get like widespread adoption. Steve, any last thoughts before we move on to our next topic?
Just on that, I think odds that there could be a bundle. Now it's not going to be Half-Life 3. Like let's let that go. I can only imagine the stink if Half-Life 3 was a VR exclusive game or something like that. But with whatever they are working on, like it's not out of the question, at least to me, that they couldn't bundle Knuckles with a piece of software or with some software. So maybe that is how they'll improve the fragmentation. Chris, you mentioned that the Oculus fragmentation was really strong, like that most effectively every Rift owner has touch. I wouldn't expect the same thing with the Vive at this point because there are existing motion controllers with the Vive that you can use. So there's less of a need with the Rift. Like, and if you want to do anything room scale, like you had to buy touch. I don't think the success will be as good there, but it'll plant the seed for whatever future Steam VR headsets there are.
Alrighty, so the next major news story we do have, and this has kind of died down a little bit, but this is our first time as a roundtable talking about all of that, and that is, of course, all the Pimax information that has come out recently, the Pimax 8K, the 5K Plus. We've had a lot of YouTube influencers that got the M2 units from Pimax. They were under NDA. They couldn't talk about it for a set period of time. That NDA has expired. Now they're free to talk about it. And Sweeviver, Sebastian from MRTV, Voodoo, DE, all these guys are talking about it. They have detailed reviews on everything. We're getting a lot of information about like which one of these are better. And it seems like a lot of the information is going towards the 5K Plus, that maybe the 5K Plus is really what you want to get your hands on. And then the other thing that we're hearing about all this Pimax stuff, of course, we remember that Sebastian from MRTV was talking to the head guy at Pimax in Mandarin, which was super impressive. I don't know if anybody else was as impressed about that as I was. But basically, the idea here is that Pimax wants to get all their Kickstarters fulfilled before the end of this year. So basically Christmas, by New Year's, they want everybody to get their hands on this thing. And then for people like us that missed the boat, you know, here we have been for over a year kind of teasing people that have been Kickstarter backers. Like, you guys are never getting Pimax. It's taking forever. You're being delayed forever. And now they kind of have the last laugh because this 5K Plus looks mighty sweet. Why don't we kick it over to Chris? Do you have Pimax Envy, and what are you going to do about it?
I don't yet. I'm gonna have Pimax Envy if Oculus Connect happens and there's no information about a Gen 2 or anything. Even if it's just like a prototype or something. I just want to know that some company's doing something out there kind of like this, and I'm hoping, you know, by then we'll know if Oculus is going this way or if they're going more of like a general, let's lower the cost, let's keep things relatively similar way. But no, I mean, the 5K Plus really does look great, and I'm a little tempted to get it, but at the same time, I'm tempted to get whatever gets announced next week. There's too many things getting announced right now.
Now, Gary, you are one of the key experts in the field when it comes to all these different headsets and all of their different features. We know you study it intensely. So what is
Absolutely.
your thoughts? No, seriously, though, really, you probably know quite a bit about this 5K Plus thing and the 8K Plus. I'll be honest, I haven't covered, I don't cover this like in a major way because I've just kind of always thought Pimax, like, I'll believe it when I see it type of thing. And now it's finally coming true. But what is your thoughts? I mean, let's talk about the Pimax Envy and like some of the features or some of the things you've learned just in these last week or so that we've gotten all these impressions from all these influencers.
I mean, the reviews that Sweeviver, Voodoo, and MRTV's Sebastian have done are incredible, really. I mean, honestly, I was watching these videos on YouTube, and it took me a few days to get through them. Really, I needed to take a day off to get through all of this stuff, to really appreciate it, because some of the work that they've done, and they really have gone in depth. Sweeviver has done like almost a 3-hour review of the Pimax 5K and the 8K, 5K Plus and the 8K, and then added subsequent videos on top of that, and so is MRTV as well. There's so much to absorb in all of this, and really, at the end of the day, I will say that the overall impression is I'm pretty jealous. I want one of these things, I really do, and I'm so pleased. I really am pleased that these things of the impressions that are coming out of these are positive. The 5K Plus, to me, from everything that we're hearing at the moment, the 5K Plus seems like the one to go for, but we don't know, what the future will hold, because it's the 8K is being upscaled, and that's the reason really why it's not quite as sharp as the 5K Plus, which is rendering its native resolution. So I suppose if I was to go for one at the moment, the 5K Plus is a little bit cheaper, and I'll probably go for that. But so jealous.
Prince Alexander in chat says pre-orders are starting in October for non-backers. Do we actually know what the price is going to be at all, or no? And then of course, like if we do, like let's say we were to try to get our hands on a 5K Plus, right? It would just be the headset a la carte. We'd still need some controllers. Now, if only Valve could work out that timing with Knuckles, it would all work out so nice. Steve, one of the things we did hear about this, now Sebastian just recently tried a bit of some not safe for work material, and he actually likes that better on the AK. So is there a little bit of, are you wondering about that, or are you all about that 5K Plus?
Well, like part of me wonders if they are choosing the 5K Plus. The reviewers, they all unanimously sided with the 5K Plus if they had to strip it down to a choice, at least from what I recall. I did not watch Voodoo DEs because I don't speak German. So if they're all choosing the 5K Plus, it makes me think that they are all choosing it for a reason. But on the same token, they got the 5K Plus much later. So it has that newness, that new to them, and that I don't know if that is sort of creates a little bit of a bias. Either way, I think we're talking minuscule differences. I don't think that the decision is as critical as we're making it out to be. We're enthusiasts. We want to make the right choice. Anytime you're given a difficult A/B choice, you'll get analysis paralysis over it. So I think that's what's happening here. I just want to get my hands on one of them. If I had to choose, I would choose the 5K Plus based on what I've heard. And I'm not going to end up with both of them. So, ignorance is bliss. Like I'll never know what I'm missing if I end up with the 8K and never try a 5K Plus or vice versa. So hopefully I can get my hands on one. I want one. I think from just listening to them talk about it, I'm pretty convinced that it's going to be a good experience. I don't see it being a bad experience in any way. I am still concerned somewhat for the support, like just what happens if the left screen goes out or whatever. Like I feel pretty good about my options with, say, my PlayStation VR and with Oculus. Don't feel very good about Vive, and one reason why I unloaded that headset. So Pimax, like I really wonder what their support structure could look like. So we'll see how it goes. And I am going to try to procure one. I'll probably pre-order one in October, depending on price. Now, if they come out and the 5K is $1,200 and the 8K is $1,500 or something crazy like that, probably not. Or if we hear some really good news at OC5 that suggests I shouldn't order a Pimax, I won't. But as of now, the plan is, pending anything else, I'll at the very least pre-order if I can't find a way to get one sooner.
Would you imagine, like, as someone that is pre-ordering it, you might not get that thing until maybe March 2019 or something, right?
Yeah, and that's the rub. Like if I played that, if I had been in last year, then I would be getting one here very soon. Like, and that's the case. I don't, unless Oculus says something, or unless HTC's around the corner or a new entry into the market is around the corner, this is the next gen, and it's the only next gen really on the table. Star VR isn't going to be accessible. So as a VR enthusiast, and if I want that next gen, I want the improved SDE, I want the higher field of view, that's the game I have to play. This headset is it until we hear otherwise.
Yeah, going back to Knuckles, one of the nice things, like when Knuckles is finally actually available, it's like officially out there, and Valve is no longer hiding anything about Knuckles, and we know about Knuckles. I think there might be some other shoes that drop in terms of possible other Steam VR headsets that have been waiting on Knuckles to have that combined bundle. And then that's going to throw another monkey wrench into this whole thing. But yeah, we got Oculus Connect next week as well, so we're waiting on that. But let's go to our next story. And the next story we have is the Lenovo Mirage Solo is getting some AR support and also improving, I believe, the 6 degree of freedom controllers that it has as well. Now, I know Chris put this on there. He has a little bit more details on this. So let's go ahead and bounce over to Chris.
Yeah, so the weird thing about the Lenovo Mirage Solo was it was one of those kind of like the Vive Focus where not even the Vive Focus. It has a 6 degree of freedom headset, but 3 degree of freedom controller. But the other day, Google announced that they made dev kits of 6 degrees of freedom controllers, and there's 2 of them. So it's basically directly competing with something like a Santa Cruz, which I thought was kind of cool because I wasn't expecting anyone to be competing with Santa Cruz yet. So I definitely instantly tried to get these for my studio. So let's hope we can get some dev kits of this. I can talk about them or something like that. That'd be cool. So I think that's the biggest news is that there's this faceplate that attaches to the headset, and it basically allows there to be 2 6 degree of freedom controllers in Daydream, which I think is super neat. And then also some other stuff they announced along the lines of this there's just some other experimental features, which is kind of AR pass-through mode, similar to on the Gear VR, except it's 3D because the cameras are actually spaced out pretty well. So there's a video of someone playing ping pong in real life, but seeing depth perception through the headset itself, which was pretty cool because with some machine learning stuff, they were able to make it kind of the cameras look like they're in the right place. So I think it's cool that Google's doing a lot of experimental stuff with that. And if these 6 degrees of freedom controllers are good, then that'd be a direct competitor to Santa Cruz, which could be really interesting.
Yeah, Gary, I'm gonna bounce it over to you real quick. But what I want to ask is, so we have a number of these headsets that do have a little bit of AR support, or they're like planning some kind of AR stuff going down the line in the future. I mean, remember the HTC Vive Pro? It has those 2 little cameras on the front. We just got done talking about Pimax. I don't believe there's any cameras on the front of Pimax, right? They don't have anything like that. Do you believe that this will be a make or break feature within a couple of years, and that any headsets that don't actually have those 2 cameras on it are going to be a bit of a liability? Or is this something we're not really going to have to worry about for maybe 3 years or so?
Well, I think there's 2 paths, isn't there, with AR? So you've got the Magic Leap path, the HoloLens path, which is used in real life and then projecting the image on top of that. And then you've got the pass-through camera route. And there's always going to be some kind of latency with the pass-through camera way of doing things. Although this video shows somebody playing table tennis, which requires pretty low latency in order for that to happen. So I think that's pretty impressive. You see, the pass-through camera route is really the better way, or the maybe I should say the easiest way of doing things, but you've always combating resolution and latency by doing it that way. I think it would be great if they could overcome those 2 little obstacles to just have a pass-through camera, because that would be it just work. You can coordinate everything. You can coordinate the video, you can coordinate the things that are being rendered on top of this video so they match perfectly. There is no lag, there is no sort of distortion as you move around the room in terms of like latency of the object being rendered. It will just match and it will be solid. But on the counter to that, really, in the long term, I think the Magic Leap route, the HoloLens route, is really the way that eventually it will go. And I don't think these cameras are like a long-term thing. I think they perform a function at the moment, and it's great, and I'm pleased they do that. The other thing I just want to say, just quickly going back to the 6 degrees of freedom with the controllers, because I think that's the most exciting thing with this, is now they're sort of combating directly against Santa Cruz, which is hopefully coming out early next year. We've got AC5 next week, and we'll probably hear some more about that then. But I think this is sort of direct competition. They're announcing this now, as Chris said earlier. They're announcing these things sort of on the run up to compete directly against Santa Cruz, which is going to be, I think it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, Steve, I know that you haven't talked a lot about these various mobile VR headsets too much. Now you have a Go, you like that, but are you tempted by this idea of having the 6 degree of freedom on the headset and 2 controllers where you get that legit hand presence? There's no cords or anything, but I know you're kind of concerned of the step down in graphical quality. We've seen some beautiful games this week, and a lot of these games, or within the last week or two, and a lot of these games just wouldn't look the same on a mobile headset. But are you tempted at all by this Google Daydream announcement, and then of course next week with Santa Cruz possibly?
I'll go ahead and say that for the time being, I'll be our resident hater when it comes to higher cost portable VR equipment. I have a Go. I've been playing it this week while I'm out of town. I even have it within arm's reach right here. I like it as a portable alternative when I don't have my PlayStation VR or my Rift and my PC. I'm on the other side of the world. I couldn't lug my big PC. I in theory could have brought my PlayStation, but even then that's a lot of hassle. The Oculus Go is easy to bring. When I'm at home, I almost never play my Oculus Go. And if I do, it's to quickly check out a video or, a Face the Fears type experience. I'm not really deeply playing games. And that's because I have a better alternative. I'm concerned that my habits won't change. If I could materialize a Santa Cruz into my lap right now, I'd play it while I'm here in this hotel. But outside of that, I don't know that I would be choosing to play it over my Rift or over my PlayStation VR or over a Pimax if and when I get one. So that really gives me pause. And it's not specifically just about the graphics, but I'm just concerned about the experience as a whole. I can deal with dumbed down graphics that are the same games, like a lower res Skyrim, right? Skyrim on PlayStation looks way worse than Skyrim on my 1080 Ti and 8700K. But I don't think I'm going to get Skyrim in Santa Cruz. I don't think I'm going to just flat out, I'm not going to get these types of games, period. And that's really what gives me the bigger pause. I'm sure we'll get a game like Beat Saber, and I would play that a lot. On Santa Cruz, Beat Saber would be probably the definitive way to play it, just due to you could throw it up anywhere. But outside of those sorts of games, I don't know that we're going to get the super deep, meaty experiences, and that they're going to look worth a damn. So that's where I stand. So I'll be the resident hater till proven otherwise.
You know what's interesting about the Go? I was wondering if anybody else does this. I actually will use my Go in my house. And for me, the reason I do it is because I can walk over to the living room. I'll actually have the Go on my head and walking around the house. And my wife is like, whoa, how are you doing that? I'm really just looking down at the corner, to see I'm not going to bump into something. But does anybody else do that? You kind of walk around your whole entire apartment or house and you're still wearing your Go and you're trying to live this dream of, yeah, I could always have my VR headset on. It doesn't have the cameras, but I can just kind of cheat by looking down.
Go ahead, Chris.
No. Okay, I was just saying that's the dream of Santa Cruz, so we can just walk around our house and it's all tracked. We can have a game just in our house, basically. That'd be really cool. But no, I was just gonna say with the Go, I use it a lot just because my friends have Go's and they don't have PCs for Rift. We don't have room for Rifts, but I finally got my Rift set up this week, and I've been basically exclusively using that again. So it's a constant battle of which I'm gonna use.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things like all these mobile headsets, one thing they are going to have to figure out, and this was especially apparent to me because I took my Go to a birthday party, and I had a whole bunch of different people try it on, all different age groups, teenagers all the way up to senior citizens, all trying my Go, and it was a real hit at this like barbecue birthday party thing. But one of the big problems I had is every time I put it on somebody, I'm trying to like, what do you see? Where's the menu? And we need to figure out some way to stream what the person is seeing, not only to like a phone, but maybe somehow onto a TV as well. Because I could take my Go into the living room where all my family is there and we're doing stuff. But if you can't get that image onto a TV or something, it's hard to include everybody else. Any thoughts?
No, you're
I
absolutely
was,
right. That's a
yeah.
big deal. And I've had that exact problem in trying to demo my Go. Now they have, Carmack has mentioned that they are going to come with a stream to a phone. Maybe we'll get it next week. Maybe we'll get an update or something next week that allows it. And I think that's a big deal. It won't be as nice to your phone. I guess if you have like an Apple TV or a Chromecast, you could double stream it like it's to your phone and then relay that to a TV, which, you'll see someone's head turn about 5 seconds after they've turned it. Won't match up, but it's doable, I guess.
Better than
Yeah, that's
nothing.
I'm wondering about the delay because I imagine there's got to be a pretty good delay. But at least you could say, okay, you're in the menu. Okay, see that box over there in the right, click on that. At least you'd be able to do that kind of stuff. Okay, well, we got a couple other minor stories here real quick. First, let's talk about Sony apparently has patented a design for a VR headset that is going to have eye tracking and some type of anti-motion sickness technology. And then a little bit of a rumor, but I know I heard somewhere that there's talk about PSVR 2 possibly being wireless. I don't know if anybody else heard about that. So anyway, why don't I shoot it over to Gary? Because Gary, I know you cover a lot of these headsets and you're always looking for the latest trends. What do you think? What do you think about the PSVR 2? It's got to be coming at some point, right?
Well, yeah. To be honest, with this news story, okay, so this patent was filed in 2017, around about sort of 4 to 6 months after the original PSVR was released. Now, a lot of these patents, companies are constantly filing patents. We never know what they're up to, really. And we get these snippets of things that they're working on, but they just file things just to safeguard themselves. That's the way these companies work. So we don't really know what they're working on. One thing I will say, that the main thing about this is that they filed this a few months after the original release of the PSVR. And to me, that's sort of encouraging. I want Sony to continue working on VR, and there's a constant concern, no matter how well you hear about the PSVR selling, which is now sort of over 3 million units, which is great. I still don't know if that's enough for Sony, and this is the thing. I want Sony to continue with VR. So the fact that this patent has come out is probably the biggest news for me, considering it came out after, or it was filed after the release of the PSVR. So hopefully that's sort of encouraging for people. With respect to the patent itself, I think honestly, almost every generation Gen 2 VR headset needs to be inside out tracking. That's just where I think it's going. It needs to be simplified. Everything needs to be simplified. I can't see Oculus, or even, to a lesser extent PSVR, but Oculus especially, which requires all these USB ports to be utilised to have all these outside-in sensors. It doesn't make sense. For mainstream adoption, it doesn't make sense. They need to move away from that. I think that's part of what they're doing with Santa Cruz as well. So hopefully the PSVR 2, if they are working on it, it does point to sort of inside-out tracking, really.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and I'll skip Chris and Steve's thoughts on this. We'll go ahead and just move on to the next topic real quick, because we got a lot of games, tons of games to get into. But before we go to that, Oculus Connect 5, this is coming up in a couple of days. And one of the things that we've heard about is you will be able to stream Oculus Connect 5 on some mobile VR devices, including, I believe, the Oculus Go, but not the Oculus Rift. Why? Let's go to our resident Oculus specialist, which of course is Chris. Chris, give us some insight into the offices at Oculus.
Okay, so I think the problem here is the Rift team and the mobile team have been kind of deviating a lot lately, and that's been good for Rift specific features. Like we've gotten Dash, and they consistently improve stuff like that. But that means things like Oculus venues aren't out on Rift yet. You know, things like Oculus Video aren't out yet. So we really need those teams to make these apps. But I mean, that's the thing is it's going to be in Oculus venues, which is only on Gear VR and Oculus Go, which makes sense. At least they have it on a platform where more people are on. But I don't know. It's the same thing happened. Like I remember it was available on Rift in like some third-party app like a year or two ago, and it was so blurry I couldn't even watch the thing, so I had to watch it on Twitch. So that's probably what I'm gonna have to do again. It's gonna probably be buggy like always, but I don't know. We can only hope that it's gonna be a decent VR live stream. It's like never happened, but yeah, it's a crappy time because you know everyone has Rifts and they want to watch this thing.
Yeah, well, we all have Oculus Goes now, so the good news is we can all throw on our Goes and try to check it out. I don't know if it was just a year ago at Oculus Connect 4 that I tried to watch some of it, and it was a blurry, it was. I was watching a couple minutes of it, and it was like always loading and buffering, and I was like, I saw Zuckerberg for a couple of minutes there, but then, it just didn't work, and so I had to hop off of that and go onto a computer. I'm gonna give it another shot. I'll give it another shot with my Go, and the Go is great for video. I don't know about live video. Gary, I don't know if the timing's going to work out for you. You might be at work or whatever when this is happening. Are you going to try to check this out on your Go at all?
Yeah, well, I won't because I've not got a Facebook account, and you need a Facebook account in order to access Oculus venues. So, yeah, I won't be, unfortunately. But last year I did, because you could watch it in the Rift last year, OC4, and I do remember trying that, and it wasn't great. It was so laggy that it was almost pointless in doing it that way. So I won't be doing it, but yeah, I'm glad they're doing this, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me why they're not also doing this in the Rift. Why wouldn't they? Other than the fact, I mean, is Oculus venues, I don't know if anybody knows, is Oculus venues sort of available on the Rift, or is it purely a mobile VR thing? Okay.
I think it's to what Chris said. They have a branch of teams, and the two teams aren't always working on the same thing. So one team has it on the Go, but the Rift team just hasn't gotten to it, or not being told to get to it, or whatever. I would have to think it's something like that because there's nothing technologically limiting them. There could be some sort of licensing thing if they're licensing technology from someone else and they've licensed it exclusively for a certain chipset or for a portable device, and they can't put it on the Rift. But I think it's more likely just they don't see value in doing it or having their teams focus on it. It's just the only thing I can conclude. It does seem weird though.
It's I just on that. It does seem weird, and maybe I'll reactivate my Facebook account. Maybe I need to do that because at some point or another, I think Oculus venues, and I don't want to get into all of this talk about Facebook and Oculus and that kind of stuff, because I think eventually it is going to go that route. I think eventually it will get to the point where you do need a Facebook account in order to access anything to do with Oculus, and I don't necessarily think that's terrible. I'm not like anti-Facebook at all. I just don't have a Facebook account anymore because I didn't use it. I don't want to use it, and now the fact that I'm sort of being forced to use it in order to access this thing which will happen once a year, then I'm sort of feeling pressured to do that. And I don't want to get Anthony started on Uplay again because I'm sure I'll bring that up soon. But
hey, I finally succumbed. I succumbed to Uplay. I embrace the overlords now. So it's time for you to embrace Facebook.
Yeah,
but you know what? Speaking to like things not being on Rift and stuff, I did see Next VR is now on Rift, and I downloaded it. I still didn't try it, but I've tried it on PlayStation VR where you can see like different sports clips and highlights and concerts and stuff that are kind of in 180, and that's now on the Rift now, so we can check that out now. So it's it's a delay, man. Things just don't always end up on everything. Steve, any thoughts?
Not too much. Depending on what time. Does anybody know what time the stream is? Like, Gary, I'm on your time this week, so hopefully I can check it out. If not, I'll just, read about OC5 on the internet and everything later.
Yeah,
think
last year it was in the evening for me, so I did access it and sort of watch it around about 7 p.m. UK time, I believe. I can't actually remember, but I know it was sort of convenient watching time anyway.
Yeah, I think it's at 10 Eastern.
Okay, so it'd be like 3 then. Yeah, that might be a little. I'll be working, but either way, like it's to me, like I don't. I would check it out just because I have the Go and I'm sitting right here in the room and whatever. Like, but I don't. I don't think it's the best way. Like, there's no way that the video is going to be so clear that it's like you're digesting technical information, right? You need to focus on that technical information, not trying to perceive, what something looked like, because the view is so blurry, which is what I think it would be, unless they're doing something specifically for VR that gives, that the 3D or the scalability makes sense. If it's just viewing a typical keynote, there really makes no point. Like, there's no immediate value other than the novelty of saying, hey, I'm doing this with VR goggles on.
Yeah, the only cool thing, it would be super cool though. Like if you are watching Oculus Connect 5, you have your headset on, and then when they go to like an announcement for a brand new Oculus Rift game or something, and somehow it's flagged a certain way, and then in your headset you get stereoscopic 3D video of that trailer somehow. Like that would be cool. But otherwise, yeah, we might as well be on monitors. I mean, really. But you know what? Before we move off of this topic, let's go a quick roundtable predictions. Oculus Connect 5. We'll start with Chris. Chris, just give us some quick hit predictions on like Santa Cruz. Will it be there? Will you get a name, price? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Santa Cruz is going to be there. It's going to be the head of the show. There's going to be a price dropped for it, probably like $499 or something. I would expect, because it's pretty neat and a lot of tech in there. I think Rift is going to have a price drop to like $350 maybe permanently, because I've seen there's been some sales of Rift to be $350. I think they just might cut it just because why not? It'll be a good headline. Other than that, I'm expecting like a lot of games maybe we've never heard of, or at least games we know of but we don't have release dates for. Maybe we'll get some of those. So I think it'll probably be more about software than we really think it will be.
Will we get a glimpse of CV2 in any way, shape, or form, or just maybe like the Half Dome prototype, a little talk on that?
Yeah, we'll probably get, it's like the CV1 where they just had like little thing where they talked about it for a little bit. And I'm sure at Carmack's talk, like Carmack is going to have his full on just rambling about stuff. I'm sure he'll leak something by accident, or there'll be, some information there about the future. So.
Okay, Gary, how about you? What's your thoughts?
Well, I've just noticed a comment in the chat. So Paradise Decay said, predicting Go price drop to $149 for the 32GB version. Honestly, if they can do that, that would be fantastic. I think it's sort of wishful thinking in some ways. I don't think that will happen, but I would love it. I honestly would love it if they could do that. I think they're sort of hitting a point now where they can't lower the price of that device at the moment any lower than it already is. And I don't know anything about the manufacturing or anything like that, so this is all just speculation. Hopefully they do have a little bit of leeway where they can lower it down to $150, because that is sort of, even we've always said on this show, like $200, £200 is sort of the magic price, and I think that's true, and the Oculus Go has sort of proved that in some ways. But to get it down to $150, why not pick this up? This is almost like, for any mild tech enthusiast who knows nothing about VR, they could just see this at the checkout and almost be tempted to pick that thing up. At that price point, I think it would be great. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, everybody at the barbecue thing, I've shown it to everybody. When they all found out that it was $199, you could almost see like a light bulb go off in their head. Like, wow, that's not bad at all. I might want to order one of these later.
Yeah. The other thing, that I just want to say about predictions in terms of OC5 is I think we will get a name. I think we'll get a release date for Santa Cruz as well. And other than that, I think they'll probably show a little bit more development on CV2. So like the Half Dome prototype, I think they'll show a little bit more of that, but not really commit too much in that direction. And other than that, probably I'm hoping, honestly, the main thing I'm hoping for, rather than Rift game announcements, which I would love as well, is actually Oculus Go game announcements. I want some big Oculus Go games to come out, because a lot of what we've got in there, it's good stuff, but I would love something major from Oculus themselves, like almost like a first party kind of release for the Oculus Go. That would be good.
There needs to be horde mode on Dead and Buried multiplayer. There's not. Can you believe that? There's no multiplayer horde mode. Ridiculous.
Okay, Steve, your predictions?
So I'll go with everybody on the Santa Cruz. It'll get named, dated, and priced, and I'll say $499. I think that they will show one piece of new software that's a big deal, or show more about the game Respawn is working on. I don't think they'll do both, but I think they'll do one or the other. I think we'll get more of the games we know about, the bigger games, Defector, Stormland, things like that. Those will be shown in more detail. I do not think they're going to show hardly anything about a CV2. You may get more reference to prototype, but I don't see them, if they are putting a lot of their eggs in the Santa Cruz basket, I don't think they're going to try to over or undershadow that. Kind of internal cannibalism, so to speak, by bringing up a Rift CV2 too much. I will kick it out there because I've said it in the past, and because I would be interested in that over nothing, but it's not out of the question that we see like some sort of maybe a wireless module just to try to keep pace with HTC, maybe an official wireless module, or maybe a Rift Pro or Rift 1.5 or something like that. I'd say odds of those are low, but they're not out of the question. But I think that will kind of keep, if they do have some sort of hardware announcement in that vein, it kind of keeps some of the discussion on Rift, and they can pull sort of an Apple and say, okay, here's our mobile lineup, here's our tethered, high-end gaming lineup, and kind of keep it polarized like that. But I don't think any CV2, and I know a lot of other media outlets and other enthusiasts think that there's going to be a lot of CV2 type information, and I just don't see it from a business perspective. I hope I'm wrong. Would love CV2 information.
Yeah. Okay. My quick predictions. I'll just say that Santa Cruz, we will get a name. I believe it's going to be a late March release. I don't know if or they might say spring or something, but I think it's going to be a late March release. My prediction is $599. And the reason why is I'm really hoping for that higher end Snapdragon to be in there, to kick it up a notch there. As far as the Oculus Go, one thing I think Oculus could very well do is I think maybe they eliminate the 32 gig, the normal $199 Go. They eliminate that. The 64 gig Go is now $199. It takes the place of that. And we have a 128 gig version, or like even a bigger version, and maybe it's $299. So maybe it's $100 extra for this other Go, but maybe it has like an enhanced head strap or something that comes along with it to kind of add some extra bonus there. And as far as CV2, again, 2019 is the year of Santa Cruz. I don't think there's going to be a mixed message there. Don't think it'll happen. So just probably won't see much there. As far as games, Steve just mentioned the Respawn game. I think it makes absolutely perfect sense that we get some kind of teaser, which might not show really anything at all, but we'll find out the name and the general direction of it. Defector hopefully is still this year, and all of that. So we'll see what happens there. But we got a ton of games to get into. So why don't we go ahead and kick off the game discussion? And one of the biggest games of this month, without question, is Transference. Unfortunately, Steve has not had an opportunity to play this, so he's going to have to sit out this discussion, but I played it. I believe Gary, Chris, did you play it too? Okay, cool. So we can all kind of discuss that a little bit. Why don't we go ahead and start it off with Chris? Chris, you mostly play Go, but you got back into your Rift, and I think Transference might have been part of that, right?
I did, yeah. It was scary for me. It's like my first impression. When a game is scary, I don't play too much of it. So I got probably, 20, 30 minutes into it so far. And it's scary for me. I don't know. It's really creepy. Um, it's really unique though, which is what I like about it. I don't know how to explain this game because it's just wild. Like, it's really weird. Like, Gary, can you explain this a little better?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think part of it is it's really tough to sort of get your head around. So I think if you've played the demo, you sort of understand, because the demo was almost even easier to understand than the actual game is from what I've played so far, because the demo was sort of about kind of like PTSD, and you could understand that from the demo itself. With this game, I'm sure there's an aspect of that, but there's so much more going on, and yeah, I'm struggling. But just Chris, what are your impressions? I don't know how much you've played. I've played around probably just over an hour, about an hour and a half actually, I believe, of this game, and I think it's only around 2 hours long, so I can't be far off finishing it. But how much have you played of it?
Yeah, I played like probably 20 minutes or something like that. I think that
Chris,
yes.
I know where you probably quit out of it because, early on in that experience, I mean, maybe the minorest of spoilers, but I mean, this is super early in Transference, but like when you first get into the building where, where it's taking place, right? Because you start off outside
Yeah.
and you first get into the building, there's a scenario that happens very quickly there where the pixel monster or whatever it is comes rushing out the door, and just the 3D audio that probably, like, you probably damn
That's
near
what I
freaked
did.
out.
That's what I
Yeah,
did. How'd you know? But
I knew it.
before that, I mean, I didn't play that much of it, as you can tell. But before that, the graphics are fantastic, and I love kind of the aesthetic of all this like pixely stuff that's glitching out. It looked really neat in VR, I thought. I just thought the video stuff could have been a little better with the, like, they could have had like a VR video or something when it's the guy talking and when it's cutscenes and things like that. I don't know. It's just, I feel like they could have made it more about VR, but they didn't, and I get why they didn't. But at the
That
same time,
that
come on.
that that, that point, because this is obviously, we all know it's like Elijah Wood's production company that have made this game, and I think it's difficult. It's got to be difficult for actors, because I expected the acting to be slightly better than I felt it was, and maybe I just, it's got to be tough to do that in a way where it's supposed to be for people in VR, and it just didn't feel like quite natural, that first person that you see. But it's not a major part of the game or anything like that. So, but overall, the game itself is it's pretty interesting. I've got to be honest. Like, I've played an hour and over an hour and a half. I think around an hour and a half. I don't know how far through I am. I've got to the point where I need to put these things on the door. So I've got all the letters that are on the door apart from one. I need to find the final A, and that's basically where I am. Now, maybe I've done that far too slow and people did that in the first 20 minutes. I don't know. But I'm still sort of struggling to find that final A at the moment. And I don't feel compelled to go back in. I don't feel compelled to go back in and finish the game, unfortunately. I actually quite enjoyed it while I was playing it for that hour and a half. But I when I think about going back in there, and I just think about wandering around these rooms that you become very familiar with, it just doesn't really appeal to me at this point. And I'm sure I will. I'm sure I'll sort of finish the last 30 minutes or so of the game and get through it. But there's something that just pushes me away, and it's weird for me to say that, because when I first went into this, it was actually very, very polished. It felt like all the graphics were fantastic, and actually the VR implementation, we talk about things so often on this show about how where developers have not quite done the right thing in terms of VR, like they've not given you enough options, or they've not given you free roam locomotion or snap turning or whatever you want. And I think this game actually does everything pretty much right in that terms, which is something I wasn't really expecting, because it's from a production company which seems like they're dipping their toe into VR. So you think, okay, they're dipping their toe into VR and it's going to be a game which will be fine, but it won't necessarily have all the hallmarks of a great VR game that we're used to at this point. We're 2 years in now, over 2 years in, and I wasn't expecting it to be quite as polished as it actually is in terms of a VR user experience. So that's all fantastic. The only thing is I don't feel compelled to keep playing it, unfortunately.
Does any of that have to do with
So I played the. I was just going to ask, what is the controls like? So my only experience is when I played the PlayStation VR demo, and it's with a gamepad. So how do you locomote? How do you interact with the world? Because you guys are playing it on the Rift, right? Or on PC. So you have motion controllers. Are your hands in the game at all?
Yeah. So you see your hands and you can locomote. So it's free roam locomotion, snap turning. Everything is set up. I actually didn't go in. Actually, I don't think there are any settings to adjust this. I think I did very briefly try to change stuff. Not that I wanted to change things because it actually worked pretty well. So you've got free roam locomotion, snap turning. You've got hand presence in there as well, and you can do various things with that. So that all seems to work perfectly fine. Really, it's just, I don't know. It's just like the narrative. It doesn't seem to progress the way I would like it to. Really.
So one problem I had, I'm curious if either Chris or Gary, if either of you guys had this problem. I feel like the movement speed is really slow. Like I feel like you're really moving slow. Like I wanted to move faster, but I know that if they made it where you could move faster, maybe the game would be over a lot sooner, and so it kind of adds a little bit to the. Because a lot of people complaining, Transference is only 2 hours. It's only 2 hours. I've gone past the 3 hour mark. I am past 3 hours. I'm still in the game. So I think people that are finishing it in 2 hours are very bam. They're just A to B. They're like just going through it real quick. The other little thing I noticed about it that was irritating, and I don't know if either of you guys experienced it, was I would be moving along and exploring this room or whatever, and then all of a sudden, bam, I go down into like a crouch mode, and then I go back up. And sometimes I'm up at the ceiling and I'm looking down at a table, and it's like, I don't know, the tracking got screwed up.
Yeah, that is actually, you brought up something I wanted to mention on that, because this game is being simultaneously released on PSVR, I believe, and it's coming out on PSVR at some point anyway. I believe it's the same time, and I think that's a decision they've made to for that. Basically, what happens is you can be walking around, and if you see something, like I'm playing on the Oculus Rift, so if you go into the kitchen and you want to duck down to open a cupboard, what will happen is the view will reorientate you to a standing position, even though you're ducking down in room scale. So you can then stand up and you'll be elevated above far too high. And I think what they've done is they've incorporated a button. So on the Oculus Rift, you push down the left stick and you'll duck down. So they've done that for the PSVR users, I assume, and they've just not adapted it for Oculus Rift users. But it is a little bit jarring, I've got to admit. That's the only point, because I mentioned a few minutes ago about the VR implementation was pretty good, and that's the only point. Actually, it wasn't great on the Oculus Rift, but I can understand why they've done that for the PSVR users.
Yeah, I mean, I have mostly great things to say about this game. Like like it's one of these games that has like stuck with me. Like I'll watch a really good Black Mirror episode, and for like the entire week I'll be thinking about that episode, like, different, like I'll be doing something and I'll be thinking back to that episode. And Transference has kind of been like that for me. I feel like the story is dark, man. It is not a happy story. Like it's this family. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a family that is a bit dysfunctional, to say the least, and it kind of goes in some very interesting directions as far as that. And you're playing between these two time periods. Really, you're in this house and you're switching back and forth between these different time periods. And what I've seen in terms of the gameplay can be like, I can explain the gameplay really quick and easy for you guys. So you go into a certain room, right? And there will be this thing that you see in an area where it'll be like missing file, and it'll have like a folder, something file is missing. And what that lets you know is what I've discovered in playing it is that means I need to go to the other time period. So I need to go find a light switch, hit the light switch, go to another time period, find whatever that missing file is asking for that's in the other time period, get it into my hand, hit the light switch, you go back, and then you switch time periods again, and then now you're holding this thing, and now you bring it to where it says it's missing the file, you put it there, and then all of a sudden, and it starts doing all the digital effects that are super cool. I mean, they do a good job of like the color, the hues, the greens, the blues, the purples. If there's any negative for me, it's that I've been through every hallway in every room. I've been in the bathroom so many times. I've been in the kids' bedroom, the kitchen. I've been in the kitchen forever. I've been in every one of these rooms. I've explored every nook and cranny, and but I'm liking it. I think it's a high quality game. I really have been impressed by it. But we can go ahead and move on. We got some more games to get into. So why don't we go ahead and jump into Blind? And Blind, here's a game that I haven't mentioned in a while, and it's another big release. We've really been spoiled with some really good stuff lately. Blind is coming to us from Tiny Bull Studios. And this one is interesting from the standpoint where, if you guys remember Stifled, it uses this idea where if you make a little bit of, if you make some noise, then you can kind of see. It's like a black and white world. You throw a rock, and then you can see like echolocation. And Blind is very, very similar to Stifled in that way. But I think it's a lot better than Stifled. That's just my own personal opinion. But Chris, did you get a chance to try Blind at all? Okay, so why don't we go to you and go ahead and tell us what you thought about Blind?
Yeah, I liked Blind a lot. I definitely need to go back in and play it more because it's a really just unique mechanic. Just to be like dropping things on the ground. I just keep like picking up a painting and dropping it to know where I am. But I really thought it was a neat way to implement being blind and like what that feels like. I don't know. At the same time, like I want to go back into. There's so many other cooler games. This is a very kind of one mechanic based game, at least from what I could tell. Like it's mostly exploring, walking around, things like that, which is really neat. It's just there's a lot of games that are way more flashy and more stuff to do. But from what I played of it, it was fun. It's dark, so it's a little scary for me. I get scared easily. I decided just with VR games, but I definitely think it's really unique and it's really well implemented. I don't know. I didn't get super far in, so I can't comment on the story too much. I'm sure there's a story that progresses, but maybe one of you guys can talk about it.
Okay, wait, Chris, quick question. So a lot of VR games will have you, like you're in a room, right? And there's like some kind of puzzle that you need to solve. We've seen it with Torn, Red Matter, The Gallery episode 1 and 2. So many. It's kind of a puzzle thing. You're in a room, you got to manipulate stuff. And Blind's kind of similar to that. Like, I'm sure you've kind of realized that, and going into some of these different rooms, you got to solve a puzzle. Do you like that style of game? Is that something that appeals to you, or are you not that into that style?
I like that style of game most of the time. It's really like hard and frustrating at times in this game when I'm trying to find out how to solve a puzzle and it's pitch black and I have to like just keep dropping a thing. I don't know. There must be a better way to do it. There must be some way to do it, but it's frustrating a little bit.
If you get a little bit further in the game, see, in the early part of the game, yeah, you do have to, like, you grab anything, any pitch in your, basically it's the drop and pick up, so you can keep seeing where everything is. But a little bit farther into the game, spoiler, you do get a cane that you're tapping around, and so you can just tap the cane everywhere, and so so you don't have to do the whole drop thing all over again.
That's awesome.
Gary, what about your thoughts?
Yeah, so I played a little bit this game, and I've got to be on, like the on paper, I think this game really works well, because you hear about it and you think you understand the premise of it pretty quickly when you sort of hear a description of what the game is. And I was actually really looking forward to playing this. In practice, the game is just a little bit frustrating for me. I don't think it's terrible. In fact, I think they've done a pretty good job on it. But just to play it, to go through these puzzles and these little sections, it's actually more frustrating than anything else. So yeah, I wouldn't say to people don't buy this game or anything like that, because I think if you can get into it and really understand the premise and you're not as frustrated by it as I am, then I think it's actually a pretty solid game. It's just that when I'm going through these rooms, and again, like Chris, you can't see anything, and half of the battle is just to pick up things and throw them, and just to see the room itself before you can even attempt the puzzle. I think that there's some problems, and Anthony, you mentioned like you pick up this cane a little bit later on, so maybe that makes things easier, but I haven't played enough of it, and I just felt a little bit frustrated the small amount that I played.
Did you ever play Stifled?
No, I didn't. No, I've not played that one on the PS. That's PSVR game, is that right, or is it on?
It's on everything now, but yeah. Okay. Steve, did you get a chance to play Blind? Okay.
Yep. So it's very much borrowed a lot mechanically from Stifled, and for better or worse, like that's what they've done. Not just in the blind mechanic, in that you have to make auditory noise in order to see the world, but also with the black and white wireframing. That's just what they both decided to do. I don't know that was necessary, but between the two games, I think I like Blind more than Stifled, only because I think the presentation, the narrative that I've seen of it, the voice acting, no voice acting at this budget level is going to be perfect. I mean, hell, even in mainstream gaming, voice acting isn't like movie quality outside of a few key actors that always do games. I'm thinking of the guy who does Nathan Drake particularly, but it's the point that I got on a good side is production values are good, narrative is good, and then outside of Stifled, it's got a unique mechanic. On the negative side, that mechanic tends to get a little over required, at least to the point that I've gotten. And I in the beginning, as the guys mentioned, you make noise to see the world, and then eventually you get the cane and you tap the cane everywhere, and when you tap the cane on walls, you may see a little more than if you tap it on the floor and things like that. And it all works well, but it just kept being this thing, like as the puzzles get harder, and I'm trying to come up with the solution of the puzzle, and I'm trying to battle also smacking my cane everywhere just because I want to see where I'm going. So it becomes, it quickly converts from a cool mechanic to this overlaying, I hate to say nuisance, but this overlaying kind of layer of something that you got to trudge through while you're trying to solve the puzzle. There should be I think a better way to do it would be as you get into each room or each primary puzzle, that you stumble around blind and then you do something to unlock that room or unlock that area, so you're no longer fumbling around blind. Like maybe you pick up an orb, or you piece together a memory or something, and then the rest of that room is lit up, and maybe they get away from the wireframe at that point, and it's a full typical rendering, and then you solve the puzzle with vision, and then as you move on to the next area, you're blind again. I think that may be a better way to do it, rather than constantly having this blind mechanic overlaying everything. But at $20, I think it's a good value. I don't know quite how long it is. Maybe one of the other guys can chime in on length, but from what I've seen of it, it's a good value. Everything is pretty good about it. It's just, I think that one mechanic can just get a little too abused.
I think it's up to $25 now, because I think it was like a launch, $20 at launch, and I think its regular price is $25 now. But one thing I'll say about Blind, like straight up comparison with Stifled, Stifled had this idea first, but Stifled is like us, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not trying to talk smack. I mean, the developers, they worked hard on it, but Stifled is much more of an amateur production, in my opinion, compared to Blind. Blind has legit production value. The guy that is talking to you, this Polygon man, you go into these different rooms, and there's a record that's playing, and it's got that scratchy sound, and he's like, Gene, no, listen to me, Gene, and he's talking, and I think that's good voice work there. That guy, this Polygon guy, and there's a story that's going on here. We got to remember there's a story at the very beginning of the game, not really a spoiler, because I mean it's the first like minute of the game. You play the role of a lady that was in a car, I believe, with her brother, driving somewhere. Something happens, and now she's in this weird world where she's blind and she doesn't really know what's going on. She can't find her brother. There's this guy, this person, this presence that she's talking to, that he's kind of trying to help her through this. My personal opinion, and I don't know what the story is, but I'm just thinking she's like in a coma or something, and all of this is going on while she's in a coma, and she needs to like get through the experience. As far as using your cane, I know it's irritating to have to use it all the time and over and over again. That does get tedious. But one of the cool things about it is, how many VR games have you guys been in where you're using something like this and it just goes right through tables, it goes through chairs, and it just hits the ground? Or there's a chandelier on the ceiling and it just goes right through that, but it hits the ceiling and registers. The one cool thing about this is Tiny Bull Studios, the collision detection is pretty nice on your cane. If there's a chandelier up there, you hit the chandelier before you hit the ceiling. It doesn't go right through it. You hit a table, you hit a chair. So I like that. I like the feel of that. But you're going from room to room and you're going through these puzzles. I don't know how far I am through Blind, but I've gotten to this one room. It's like a library, and then there's a bathroom, and there's these little tape recorders that you find that's your dad, and he like left messages on these tape recorders. And I've found 4 different tape recorders, and I'm trying to solve this puzzle, and I assume that you had to play these recordings in the order that they happened, and then it unlocks something. But I'm still stuck there. And the only thing I'll say about it is, I believe Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis has played farther through this game and says that it just becomes impossible, that the puzzles are just way too freaking hard. And maybe I've just barely hit that point where the puzzles get too damn hard. But I've enjoyed the entire game up until this point, and I think it's got great production value. I like Blind. I mean, up until where I am now. Maybe I continue to play it, and it's like, I'm pulling my hair out. It's just too hard. The puzzles are freaking ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe that's the way it is. But that is Blind. So let's go ahead and let's talk about Jet Island real quick. So Jet Island is a very recent release. It just came out on the 21st. And it's an interesting game because, we got Windlands 2. It's kind of similar in some slight ways, but not really. But if you watch the trailer, you'll think, oh, this is like Windlands 2. It's quite a bit different. Chris, you did get a chance to play Jet Island. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. It sucks that I played Windlands 2 after this, because I don't know. Windlands 2 just feels like it's more produced, and I get that it is. It has a bigger production team and everything. This feels indie in a lot of ways, but it also has some really neat mechanics that I liked. I like that I have this little bike thing that I put under me, and then I'm kind of racing more than swinging on things. But to me, the swinging mechanic that they had wasn't that good. Compared to Windlands 2, it feels so real and so good. On this, it feels not as good, but just kind of moving around with my thrusters on the bike was really neat. I didn't really play too much, but I feel like it's just like an exploration game where I'm going around this big old island and there's different places to go. It looked like I liked it, but knowing that Windlands 2 came out at a similar time, I just can't be playing both, and I'm probably going to be playing Windlands 2 because of like the bigger story and everything. I feel bad. Like, I feel like this game got really screwed by that timing, and I feel bad because I'm playing into that. But I don't know. It's a hard thing. I love the unique mechanics to it, and I think if Windlands 2 didn't come out, everyone would be talking about this. Everyone would be playing the multiplayer. It's just really unfortunate. I don't know. What do you think, Anthony?
Well, I mean, when I first got into Jet Island, I thought the controls, like, I couldn't figure out the controls at all, and I was frustrated to hell. But then really what it is so you have these jets on your wrist, right? And then you have your little hoverboard. but it's all about the jets on your wrists, man, because basically, and when you're looking at your jet, your hands, you have like these red gloved weird hands, and there's a green little meter that's on each of your hands, and that's how much jet boost that you have. And so if you aim your hands out like this, you're zooming that way. But let's say you want to get up in the air, then you switch your hands like this, and you use your jets. You get up in the air like that. And I really like this game from the standpoint that, to me, this is the kind of game, like, if you've had a stressful day and you just kind of want to zoom around this island without like a mission or a plan or a goal. That's the way I've been playing. I know there's like bosses and stuff, and there's like things you're supposed to do on this big island, but I've just kind of been free flowing. Like, there's music playing. The graphics are very simplistic, but it has this like late 90s, early 2000 PC kind of texture vibe that I kind of like for some reason. And what I've noticed in this game, I haven't played that much of it, but what I've noticed is I go up the side of a mountain cliff, right? Like this huge, gigantic ass mountain, and I'm shooting up it with my jet wrist, and you go shoo, and you're like way up, and then like you look down and you're like zzz, you get that feeling, right? And like it's just a cool, relaxing kind of a game for me. But like, if you watch the videos for it, there's like all these weird things going on. There's like bosses and stuff. I haven't done any of that. But let's go over to Steve, because Steve, I remember when you first tried this, you didn't like it. I don't know if you ever got a chance to get acclimated to the controls or not.
Well, I could probably get better with the controls because it's a deep system, but I don't feel like the controls were a problem. I never felt that way. It was something that I had to learn. But no, I'm not high on this game. I don't know what the U.S. price is, Gary. You have it listed at 15 pounds or 15 euro, but it's in a not recommend for me right now. Maybe I could change my tune if I played it more. I played about an hour of it, which for an indie game, an hour is a pretty solid commitment to get a feel for a game. And there was just something that I couldn't do. And the problem, I think, in part is due to being so close to Winlands when I was playing it. Now, I think it came out on Friday, yesterday, 2 days ago, something like that. But we've had a key for a little while now, and it was very close to Winlands. Like, I was playing Winlands and this like back to back, and that didn't help it any with the with not specifically the controls, but the whole element of the locomotion. Swinging is very secondary in Jet Island, whereas it's obviously very primary in Winlands. The jets are your primary mode of transportation, and they work well, but they're limited. You run out of fuel and you got to wait for them to recharge. And I don't know if there's power ups or upgrades. I haven't seen any yet, but I would know I wanted to do something. Hey, I want to go over there. And it felt more like a Tony Hawk game or something, in the sense that I couldn't do what I wanted to do because I didn't have enough jet thrust. And then, maybe I had to ramp back and forth 3 or 4 times to build up enough velocity just so I could make a jump and get over to that other side of the island when I wanted to. And for a game that's about speed and locomotion, think of Sprint Vector. Like, Sprint Vector let you go when you needed to go. Like, you had to be good at it. The controls were still, I don't want to say finicky, the controls were still very tight, where you still had to execute and maneuver well and get good at the game. And Jet Island's very much like that, but it wasn't so limiting that it kind of crossed that threshold of frustration. And that's what Jet Island was for me, is that it became frustrating. Like, again, it just felt like I was playing a Tony Hawk game with no purpose. I didn't beat it and didn't really engage with it much, but I did see one of the bosses, and it was really cool. Like, the whole premise of Jet Island is good. The locomotion, the jets, the grappling hook thing that you can swing yourself around a turn or a radius, the scale with the big creatures, the island itself, the look of the sky, all that's good. The textures kind of suck, but the developers pretty well aware of that. The whole concept is really good. I think this is the type of game that, if it had some funding, had some more developer meat behind it, could have been fleshed out into something really, really, really good, something that everyone would be talking about, like Winlands, if it had some of that Winlands meat and investment behind it.
Gary?
Yeah, so This game, I didn't actually put this down as one that I'd played, but I did it very briefly. I went in for 30 minutes last night to play this game, and I sort of agree with Steve in some ways. The mechanically, honestly, this game is, it's got such a great idea behind it. There's so many things that you can do, and it takes you through the tutorial. The first part of the game takes you through all these little mechanics. And I, similar to Steve, maybe, I felt like because almost like when you play Richie's Plank Experience, you've got these things where you can sort of boost around with your hands. And that's the way this game works. It just doesn't work. I wanted more boost. I needed more boost to do some of the maneuvers that I wanted to do. And like Steve, again, maybe that comes in time. Maybe you get upgrades and this kind of stuff. The other thing is the swinging mechanic just simply doesn't feel great. So the swinging mechanic, when you come from Windlands 2, it's nowhere close to that. Other than that, those little criticisms aside, I will say the premise of the game is actually pretty good. Okay, and there's like a stark contrast almost between like the very indie parts of this game and the actual things that seem like quite high production, like the boss, or maybe it's a boss, I don't know, I've not got to it yet, but you see this giant mechanical worm snake thing that's circling in the sky, and that looks absolutely fantastic from a distance. And you've got all these sprawling vistas, and hopefully they can do a better job on the textures, because eventually I think this game would look great. So there's a lot to like about this game, but from my 30 minutes I wasn't drawn to continue, although I've got to say, maybe I will go back in and really sort of try to get a little bit better at some of these actually quite interesting mechanics.
Yeah, it's a bad timing situation for Master Indy. I really feel for the guy, because we're comparing it to Windlands 2, and honestly, I think these are completely different games that have almost nothing to do with each other. The only thing they have to do with each other is the Spider-Man web slinging type of thing. But see, in Windlands, when you're using the Spider-Man web slinging thing, you sling it at a tree and bam, you instantly pull yourself and you're instantly flying towards that tree. This game does not work like that. You swing your Spider-Man thing and you hit the side of like a giant bridge or whatever. And what it does is I think the physics in Jet Island are probably way more realistic than they are in Windlands. But sometimes realistic physics is not as fun as unrealistic physics. And so the comparison there between Windlands and I think it's just not a good, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Jet Island, because like I would describe this game, Steve mentioned Tony Hawk. This is more of a skateboarding game, in my opinion, than anything else. This is a game where you're looking for sick ramps. You're trying to get crazy air. At least that's the way I've been playing it. I'm just going up sides of mountains. There's a lot of, like, as you're going through this island, you'll see a lot of ramps, like a lot of little small ramps everywhere. It's almost like a playground, like a skate park is the way I look at it. I'm on this hoverboard thing and I'm using my jet wrists. But for me, this is a skate park. I'm just looking for fun, giant cliffs to go up the side of. I'm trying to see, can I jump far enough to get over the water and get all the way over to this other area over there? I'm screwing around with that. I like this game. Like, would I recommend it? It's $20. I'm not going to recommend it, but only because I think there's better things to buy with your $20, especially this month. I would put it towards Transference, add an extra 5, or I'd put another 10 on there and I'd go for Windlands 2. It's bad timing for me. If Jet Island came out in a month when we had nothing, I think it'd be pretty huge. I think people would be really into it and a lot more excited about it. But I feel for all of these other smaller games like Blind and, another small game we're about to get to right now is Unknown Fate. Steve, I think you wanted to talk about Unknown Fate, developed by Mars Lit Games. I feel for these guys because it's another game. It's just a meaty month, and it's hard to get attention in this month. But let's kick it over to Steve.
Well, someone else put it on the list. I just put my name next to it because I played it. So hopefully someone else is wanting to talk about it, and it's not just me. But Unknown Fate, we got it about a couple weeks ago. I feel like it's been a little while. I played it. I would classify it more as an experience, and similar to Jet Island in the sense I think it's overpriced at $15. I think it's a worthwhile experience at 5, 6, maybe $10. 15 is a little overpriced. Because from what I played, and maybe I just haven't gotten far enough, is it's a neat visual treat. Like you're just in this weird place and weird things are happening, and there's this whale-like creature just kind of swims by in the sky for some unknown reason. It's like, almost like this bizarre dream. And in VR, we all know, all of us are enthusiasts. We know that is cool whenever you just get this nice visual thing, hey, this visual experience. But there is a little bit of a gamey element to it. There's some finding keys and opening up doors or opening up passageways, for lack of a better way of saying door here. It's not really doors, and all that's okay. So there's the gamey aspect of it, but it's very, very toned down in the game. It's more of an experience. It's teleport only, and this is where I ding it pretty hard. Now, well, it's teleport as far as I could tell. When I played it, the developer hadn't officially put in Rift controls, although it works on my Rift and I'm able to play it. So maybe there is a smooth locomotion that I can't execute on my Rift yet. But for now, it's teleport only, and it's not worth the $15 asking price. Outside of that, I like the experience. It's worth doing. It's a visual treat. It just needs to be cheaper.
Steve, wait a minute. I think that the $15 price, I think that price is perfectly fine. If we're in the month of June and nothing is coming out and you played this and it was $15, I think it's fine. I think the $15 price is a problem because there's all these other great games that are, so close. I think that's what it is. But Gary, did you get a chance to play Unknown Fate at all?
Again, I didn't put this down on the list that I played, only because I played a very small amount of it. But I agree with you, Anthony, what you said there. I think it's all about timing. If this had come out a year ago, I think it would be much better received. And it's not like it's terrible. And the teleport mechanic, it is teleport only, which was actually a surprise. I go into these games and at this point I'm thinking they're going to have all these options. It's teleport only. But the game has been specifically designed with teleport. You can't really play this game because you're maneuvering between these platforms which you can't actually walk between. So it's obviously been designed with teleport only. It's just so strange. Okay, so I've played, again, 30 minutes. I've played 30 minutes of this game, and it's just really, really weird. I don't know what to make of it. So it's a puzzle game, and you get to a point where you play all of these different kinds of games. So we've got Zing, we've got all of these other puzzle games, and you get to a point where you think, what is this game doing to differentiate itself from all of these other puzzle games? And this, to me, isn't doing quite enough. It's not, again, it's not bad. It's not a bad game at all. I think the production values are pretty good, and the graphics look good. The story actually seems quite interesting, if not very strange. So I don't know where to go with it. Maybe I just need to play more and I'll report back on this in the future. But I wouldn't write this off immediately. And I just think it's probably just something that maybe you need to get used to and sort of understand a little bit better. But yeah, it's not doing anything badly. It's just not quite hitting the mark for me at the moment.
That's a very good way of saying it. And it's also, if I remember correctly, it's also a monitor game. It's not exclusively to VR. Am I right, everyone?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Chris, did you get a chance to try that one? No, okay.
No, I haven't. It looks, like, from the trailer, it looks wild. Like, it looks ridiculous.
Well, it's a surreal... We're getting a lot of these games where it is a surreal world that you're placed in, which I like that. Like, it reminds me, like, I think of the TV show Stranger Things when you're in the upside down of Stranger Things, this, like, other twisted world. That's kind of what I'm reminded. The one thing about Unknown Fate, like, if I had a complaint about Unknown Fate, it would be the voice work of the main protagonist guy that you kind of hear him talk every once in a while. I thought, like, to me, that's an example of, like, grabbing the developer's cousin and bringing him into the booth and be like, okay, bro, you're going to do the voice work real quick. So I wasn't a fan of the voice work. the teleporting, unless they gave you the ability to run fast and jump hella far, they had to do teleporting because as you're going through the game, the world is like crumbling around you kind of, and there's like these huge open gaps. So if it was just free locomotion, you would get up to the edge and you'd be like, okay, so what they could have done though is they could have give you both.
Give you a jump button.
Yeah.
They could give you a jump button. If it's played on a monitor, I guess you could have teleport in a monitor game, too.
But you'd have to jump over like 70-foot chasms. Like you'd need a pretty good jump there. But they could give you both. I mean, we've played plenty of games that give you both regular locomotion and then occasionally you switch to teleport when you need to. So they could have did that. I think this is honestly, I was expecting this game to be a dud because every once in a while we get duds and we've been there before. You have to, you go in, you want to give all these games a fair opportunity, but sometimes you get some real duds. Unknown Fate is not a dud. I was pleasantly surprised by it, but I barely touched it. And I barely touched it because I got an avalanche of other games bombarding me. Again, bad timing. I don't think there's anything necessarily horrible about Unknown Fate. It's another one of these mystery games where, you're solving puzzles and you're surrounded in a world and it's kind of a cool world and you don't really know what's going on. It's not going to win Game of the Year award, that's for damn sure. But I don't know. I think it's kind of decent. But let's see. Anything else we want to get into? Any other games, or do we want to just call it as far as game discussion?
Yeah, we can leave it there. The only other thing we had down on the list is maybe some Windlands 2 discussion, but I'm happy to leave that till next time, to be honest. I don't know if anybody wants to get into it now.
Well, you know what we could do real quick is just Roundtable. We've played so many games in this month of September. If you've only got $30, what do you buy? I'll go to Chris first. Chris, you got $30. You can only buy one September game. We've tried a lot of them. Where does your $30 go?
It'd go to Windlands probably first. Windlands 2, I'd say. Like, man, that thing is polished to hell. It's so fun. But this week I've been playing a lot of Beat Saber, and like everyone loves Beat Saber. If you're having VR parties, you need to get Beat Saber if you don't have it. Like, oh my gosh. And the mod...
So,
yeah, go ahead. I
learned recently that you get more points for hitting the boxes harder. I did not realize it. I was just kind of doing the risk, I can play on Expert, and I can beat every song on Expert, except for the last one they added that was after release. And I kept getting like C's. And I'm like, what the hell? Like I got like almost all the notes. And I realized you get more points for striking the boxes harder, and that's how you actually score high. I don't know how I went like 3 months without knowing this.
I didn't know
that.
You
guys know this?
No.
See, there we go. All right.
I learned something new. I think it's really neat, though. The mod manager is so easy. You just check, like, I want to be able to browse songs, and then you go in there and you can type, like, any song pretty much, and someone's made a beat map for it, and it works. It's just really, really easy to do. So I like it a lot. Yeah.
Okay, Gary, $30. What do you buy?
Windlands 2, without a doubt. It's always okay. Windlands 2, yeah. I don't want to say, because I did the little thumbs down thing with Beat Saber there, just for anybody on the audio stream, but I don't hate Beat Saber, of course I don't, but it's just not my kind of game. But for me, it would be Windlands 2. Windlands 2 is just, it's fantastic. All I want to play is Windlands 2. And I've played through a little bit of Transference, a little bit of Blind, and all I'm thinking of when I'm playing these games is I want to go back into Windlands 2.
Steve?
I would choose Windlands 2 with the caveat that I have not played Transference because I'm not at home. And then we got one more game that we can talk about next show that's coming out in September that will kind of maybe be in that same tier with Creed.
Yeah, I'll go Windlands 2 as well, but Transference is really, really close to me because I like what they did with Transference in a lot of ways, and there were certain brief moments in Transference that I thought, like a little 4-minute snippet that was like the most AAA VR game little experience I experienced in brief moments in Transference. But Windlands 2 is just a beautiful world magical music. You like you could just swing around that world and just land on certain spots and not even worry about the game. You can just like explore that beautiful world. You know what I was talking about with Windlands 2? If you guys have played Crackdown back on the Xbox 360, where you're finding all those orbs, that's what I want. I want the orbs of Crackdown everywhere around Windlands 2 so I can just find a million orbs. I think that'd be super cool. But yeah, guys, I guess that's going to go ahead and pretty much wrap it up for our discussion today. We hopefully will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. 9 a.m. Pacific is a lot of times when we do these live streams. I believe Steve will be back in the US of A. So he will probably be handling, he'll be on the wheels of steel, so to speak.
Fingers crossed.
Doing the mixing and all of that, yeah. So we should be back next week. But thanks a lot, everybody, for subscribing to the channel, like the videos, all those kinds of things is really good. Of course, tell a friend about our show if you could. That is nice as well. And in about 10 minutes here, those of you that would like to, you could bounce over to the VR Game Rankings channel. I'll be doing a little live stream over there in about 10 minutes. So you can find me over there for the after party. Any little last minute things that we need to mention? Anything else? Chris, Gary, Steve?
No.
Not that I can think of.
Okay, well, we'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you then. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.